Hi, it's good to be with you again. Last time we were together, we talked about life after death for the believer. After this life, what happens to the believer? Do they enter into a state of soul sleep, rest until resurrection, or are they furnished with a new glorious body, and are they existing in some heavenly realm where they're enjoying sweet refuge and retreat and being just in awe of Christ in his kingdom? If you want to find out a little more about that, you can go back to our podcast from about 2 weeks ago when I was with you last. Today I want to talk about something different, and that is the aspect of the fear of death. I encounter many people who are very apprehensive about the subject of death. As a matter of fact, they either don't want to discuss it or they are obsessed with it. And what is this fear rooted in? Some of it is rooted in misinformation. Some of it is rooted in a lack of information or having gained their information from wrong sources. Some of it is because of a body of theology that they have been informed by and has left them apprehensive as to whether or not they are living right, or are they going to enter into a state of condemnation? The church for 2,000 years and even before has taught that there are two destinations possible after this life: heaven, hell. And those who grew up with a strong theology around the subject of hell sometimes live in apprehension or fear of that. So this whole idea of the fear of death, it's not something new. As a matter of fact, history tells us that Alexander the Great's father, Philip, he assigned a servant to stand in his presence every day and say to him, "Philip, you are going to die." That's a rather unique approach. I don't really want Rhoda to slip out of bed every morning and stand before me and remind me that I'm going to die. On the other hand, Louis XIV, of course, the great ruler of France, he had a quite opposite approach. He decreed that no one was to mention the word death in his presence. If they did, there were consequences. Two different approaches to death. I think most of us probably lean toward Louis XIV. We don't really want the subject on the agenda at any point. David had a unique perspective, and we read it in Psalm 39, verses 4 to 8. From the New Century Version, it reads this way: "Lord, tell me when the end will come and how long I will live." I think a lot of us would like to know when that sign-off day is. I don't think it's necessarily a good thing to know it, but I kind of resonate with David here sometimes. He said, "Let me know how long I have. You have given me only a short life. My lifetime is like nothing to you," or in other words, in comparison to your eternal life. "Everyone's life is only a breath. People are like shadows moving about. All their work is for nothing. They collect things but don't know who will get them." I think he was having a rather bleak morning here when he wrote that. But when you do consider the words he's written, there is a lot of truth packed in here. We spend our lives striving for things. Many people live their lives focused on their retirement. And sadly, they don't really get to enjoy that retirement, but others, of course, gather together all the residual of their lives and get to enjoy it. As a matter of fact, those who've studied the subject tell us that in cases of families who have left significant estates, those estates last anywhere from 3 to 18 months, and generally it's gone. And so an entire lifetime is just gone like the wind, used up by those whom they left their things to. And so David then asked a question. He says, "So Lord, what hope do I have?" And then he answered his own question, as David often does. It seems as if it's the meandering of his own heart that he just inscribes it so he doesn't lose it. And he said, "You are my hope, Lord." And so we know that one of the great mandates that the Father assigned to his Son Jesus in coming to earth was to deliver us from the fear of death. The Bible informs us in Hebrews chapter 2, verses 14 to 15. "Since these children are people with physical bodies, Jesus himself became like us. He did this so that by dying he could destroy the one who has the power of death and free those who were slaves all their lives because of their fear of death. You know, there are those who have lived their entire lives in fear and apprehension concerning death. And the Bible tells us that Jesus Christ came from heaven to destroy the power of death, conquer death. And we know that he was resurrected from the dead. He came back, and by coming back, he is announcing to us that he has broken the power of death. There is life beyond death. We do not have to fear it. We can just put our trust and our hope in Jesus Christ. As a matter of fact, the Apostle Paul made a statement in 1 Corinthians chapter 15. And he's speaking concerning the end when Jesus will come back. The Bible tells us that Jesus is going to return. And here Paul speaks about this. He said, let me tell you something wonderful, a mystery. I probably will never fully understand it. We are not all going to die. Some of us are going to be changed because we're still going to be living when Jesus returns. But there's going to be a great trumpet blast. And at that sounding of that great mighty trumpet, the dead are going to be raised from their grave who died having their hope in Jesus Christ. And then those of us who are alive and have our hope in Jesus Christ, we're going to be transformed and we're going to have glorious new bodies. And then he ends that by saying, death, who's afraid of you now? And Eugene Peterson put it this way. Death is swallowed up by triumphant life. Who got the last word? You, death? No. We have victory over death. All three, sin, guilt, and death, are gone. The gift of our Master Jesus Christ. You and I do not have to live in fear of death. We just need to put our hope and our confidence in Jesus Christ and what he has committed to us, for us. Those who serve him, those who love him, those who know him. I pray you'll have a wonderful week and you will just be blessed in knowing that there is eternal life for you as you put your hope and your trust in Jesus Christ.